Hello, welcome. Before we get started, just want to wish everyone happy Thanksgiving. Obviously, that time of the year now where holidays are coming around and everything, always a fun time. And then now we are officially getting into the deep depths of the football season where things are starting to become a little more clear about who's our legit teams and who aren't. So I hope everyone has a good Thanksgiving this week. And without further ado, let's hop in. The Packers on Thursday night against the Titans. I mean, the Titans just honestly, there wasn't like oddly, it just wasn't. There wasn't too much impressive from that game. I mean, Aaron Rodgers just had a bad game. He didn't do too much, and I mean, Ryan Tannehill had a good game. I mean, I think Ryan Tannehill was like 22 for 25, something like that. I mean, he wasn't missing throws. They didn't really look like the defense was having issues containing him in and everything. And I mean, it just honestly that game just feels like it was forgettable because I mean, like this is I think the first time this year a Thursday night game I just didn't. I mean, it was an awesome game, like atmosphere wise, like the snow coming down to Lambeau and everything. And I mean, Derrick Henry threw for a touchdown pass, and I believe he ran one in as well. And yeah, I just mean the Titans got another really good win, and now with this loss, the Packers season is looking like it's probably over. For the Colts-Eagles game, I mean, as a Colts fan, this game kind of pissed me off. It was kind of disappointing. Colts led pretty much the whole game just to lose it. The last minute on a QB draw by Jalen Hurts. He scored with like a minute something left, and then Colts basically had 3 plays, did nothing with it, and the game was over. This Colts team looks way different with Jeff Saturday, and it's a lot more of a fun team to watch. It's kind of weird though how the Colts the first drive ran the ball really really well down Philadelphia's throat, and then managed to score, and then after that they kind of went away from the run game heavy first. That was very interesting to watch. And then another interesting thing about this game, Nick Sirianni having that moment with fans saying like that was for Frank Wright and all that. Which I mean, I get that was his guy and all that, but I don't think he watched Colts games because if he did, I think he would have fired him too. It was just a good win by the Eagles. I mean, they looked awful this whole game, still managed to squeak by with the win. So very good for them. Looking forward to the future. When it comes to the Rams, Saints, I mean, not much really to talk about either. These are two teams whose seasons are basically over. I mean, the Rams more than anybody's now. I mean, they just lost Matthew Stafford to a concussion, it looks like, so he's going to be questionable probably the rest of the season. But yeah, between like the Matt Stafford concussion, Odell's definitely not going back to the Rams. Cooper Kupp's injured. I think they lost another offensive lineman in that game. I mean, their season's just in turmoil, and I mean, there's not much you really can do for them. I mean, it's hard to talk about them. I mean, they just have been bad this year, and doesn't get much better now because they probably lost Matthew Stafford. So, and with John Wolford out, I mean, I think they're to their third string quarterback. So, I mean, it's an impressive win by the Saints because they were down for a bit in that game, but they managed to make it back. But yeah, both those teams really aren't going anywhere. So I don't. Yeah. For the Falcons Bears, I mean, the interesting thing coming out of this game, Justin Fields is hurt. I think he's said day to day, week to week, something like that with the stinger. It just looked like every time he got hit and was getting up later in the quarter, he's just been getting up slower and slower and slower. So it's going to be interesting to see like what's going on with him, what the issues with Justin Fields might be for the Falcons. I'll go with the good news first. Cordell Patterson set the all-time record for kickoff return touchdowns. He got his 9th. Really awesome for him because now that's probably a record that probably won't get beat. That's a record that's probably not going to get beat again just because like the way the kick returns are now and everything. So it's probably a record that might stand the test of time, so it's really awesome to see that. But in the bad news for the Falcons, they lose Kyle Pitts to a torn MCL, so he's out indefinitely as of now, and that's probably his season. I mean, I don't know why they would bring him back this year, which is the direction they are, unless they, by some miracle, can find a way to win the division. But even then, like I probably wouldn't bring him back, so it's really sad for the Falcons. I mean, that he was one of the brighter stars. It's just a tough loss for them. Good for him, though. It's not like career ending or anything, so hopefully he's able to come back from it stronger. Jets Patriots, I mean, you want to talk about a poop bowl. I mean, the only thing to talk about basically is like, I think the averages now is like the Jets average like 2.6 inches a carry, or not even a carry, like a yard. They averaged 2.6 inches per play they ran. I don't know if that's for the whole game or second half or what, but I mean, they just looked absolutely terrible. The Patriots win with the with the punt return. It's the first punt return of the season. They win with it with like 8 seconds left. And the biggest story coming out of this game is, not Justin Fields, excuse me. Zach Wilson's probably going to get benched. I mean, when asked like how he felt about the loss, everything, I mean, they threw him a softball just to say, yeah, it's on me. We need to do better. I think they asked him something along the lines of like, are you guys disappointed with like the offense basically blowing it for the defense because they held them to 3 points? It was something along the lines of that. And he basically goes, no, No, we're all good. I mean, that's the easiest question of all time, just to go, yeah, it's on me. I need to do better. We need to do better. Blah blah blah. Anything like all the cliche stuff that quarterbacks say. I mean, that was perfect right there. But makes you really wonder about where he's at mentally and just where this team's at. The fact that they were active, the offense was disappointed in how they played, and he basically said no when everyone else seems to be like, yeah, no, they're playing terrible. So with the very winnable schedule now, and I mean, the quarterback plays a question for the Jets right now. They've been winning besides like with basically almost no help from Zach Wilson. I mean, he has plays here and there, but overall, he has not really done too much. So I mean, there's a look that he might get benched, and I mean, it's almost to the point it wouldn't be shocking. Commanders Texans, not much to talk about in this one. Commanders went up, I think, like 17-0 early before the Texans scored. I mean, they just look pitiful. Texans are probably going to get if I had to guess, probably going to get the first pick. Which, I mean, they have 2 picks in the first round next year, which would be good for them. It'll be interesting to see if they end up using it on a quarterback, because I don't know. I don't know if it's on Davis Mills. I don't know if it's a team or what, but I mean, that team's just not good. And I mean, they just play awful. Damian Pierce seems to be the only bright side of the offense. Brandon Cooks had to play here and there, but they ripped the captain patch off him, do all these things. So I don't know what's going to happen with that team. They're just really bad. For the Commanders, they won 5 of the last 6. Taylor Heineke just got named the starter for the rest of the season. So really awesome for him. He said he's been basically fighting for the chance to do this. So really awesome for him that he gets a chance to start now. On the other side of the coin, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Carson Wentz in the rest of his career, because now that he just got benched and he probably won't start the rest of the year, it'll be interesting to see if other teams take a chance on him. Or if not, I mean, this could be potentially one of the last stops for his career. Just, I mean, I don't know, obviously. I'm no fortune teller or anything, but that's a very interesting situation to keep an eye on. Panthers-Ravens, Baker had like 33 passes, had under 200 yards. I mean, the wind, it was very windy in a few of these games as well, so I messed with a lot. But I mean, just overall, Panthers suck. I mean, they just really stink. I mean, there's not much besides it. Sam Darnold might get some playing time this year. That'll be interesting to see as well. I mean, the Ravens were 13-point favorites coming in the game. I mean, the winds kind of messed up stuff to begin with, but in this game, I mean, 13-3. I mean, I just feel like the Ravens should have definitely won by more. They seem to like be slow, like not taking this game as seriously maybe throughout the whole game. I don't really know. It's just this Ravens team, it's going to be interesting to see how they go moving forward. I mean, they got to win here. Much needed. And, like, for them, there's still a lot to play for in the season. So, yeah, I mean, they got some work to do, obviously, because, I mean, they offensively, just to, like, keep up with some of these other teams. I mean, the last few weeks, offense has had its, like, shaky hit and misses, so they're going to need to tune that up. And then, yeah, for the Panthers, I mean, their season's been over, so it's just interesting to see, like, what they do the rest of the season, what's going to be the move for quarterback, what's going to be the off-season moves. I mean, yeah. The shocking game of the week, Lions won 3 straight. They beat the Giants pretty bad. I mean, this game wasn't really that close. I mean, the score is misleading, I feel like. Jamal Williams had 3 touchdowns. I mean, when he gets in the goal line, I mean, it's almost unstoppable. So if they get in the goal line, I mean, there's a chance it's going to go to Jamal Williams. And he is just, unlike DeAndre Swift, who kind of runs side to side, it seems like, he's just going to run forward. And he just, like, he has a thing for the end zone. I think he has 12 touchdowns in the year. He's leading the whole NFL. And, I mean, it's just really good win for the Lions. Like I said, 3 wins in a row now. I mean, it looked like potential, like Dan Campbell might get fired, even though there's been so much, like, everyone's really liked him and everything, just due to production. Now with all these wins, I mean, he's definitely going to stay around for at least another year or two. And they have a really big game. I mean, I think both those teams have games on Thanksgiving, so really big games for both of them going into next week. For the Bills-Browns, I mean, the Browns are in a lot of trouble. I mean, I think this game was close for like a little bit. Amari Cooper had a really good day, but I mean, overall, I mean, the Bills are the Bills. They played really well. Josh Allen's had an impressive game. I mean, I feel like this score is a little bit misleading too. I just felt like watching the game. I mean, the Bills definitely should have scored more. It felt like at some points. I mean, they felt like they settled for field goals a lot, which is really good. Bass had an awesome day. I think he had like 21 points for fantasy. I know he had, I think, like 2 50-yarders, 2 40-yarders, or it's either like 1 50-yarder and 2 40-yarder, something around there. He made like 5 for, I think he went like 5 for 5 on field goals. He had a really awesome day. And just, yeah, I mean, this Bills team, I mean, they just get another win. And now they go back to Detroit for Thanksgiving, I think, against the Lions. So that's going to be an interesting matchup because both, I mean, you would have to think that the Lions would lose that game, but the way the underdog's been going this year, I mean, it can be anybody's game. In another poop bowl, the Broncos lose to the Raiders in OT. I mean, it just felt weird this year. It feels like some quarterbacks just don't know when to take sacks, and they take sacks at the wrong times when they shouldn't. And then when they can take sacks, they've run out of bounds or throw it out of bounds. I mean, Devontae Adams had another huge game against, I think he had over 13 targets, had over 100 yards. I think he had 2 touchdowns. He had the game-winning touchdown in overtime where he just absolutely routed up Patrick Surtain. I mean, it was absolutely disgusting. Basically sunned him a little bit, and then afterwards said he's not ready. He's right there, but he's not just ready yet, basically. So, also a good one for the Raiders, but overall, both those teams have just been putrid this year. Russell Wilson, there's a time where I could have argued where he should have been a Hall of Fame quarterback and deserved it, but now it's to the point where I feel scary defending that. He's slowly playing himself out of the Hall of Fame right now, and he's just, I don't know what's been going off, but he just fell off a cliff. I don't know what it is. They had a new offensive coordinator who helped out a little bit during the game. Latavius Murray had 17 touches, which was the most by any running back this year for the Broncos. And they also just got rid of Melvin Gordon. So yeah, this Broncos team and the Raiders team, both their seasons are over. So it's, who even knows? This game was it wasn't that important. For the Broncos, it would have been really nice to win that game, just to say that they were a little bit of the better team. But now that they lost to the Raiders, they're pretty much on the same equal level now. That Broncos defense is really amazing. That's the only thing that sucks. They have a top 5 defense in football, and if they scored over 18 points this year, they would be, I think, 9-2 is the record. So, on with that for that game. Those are just 2 awful, awful teams. So, just to stay in their division, the Sunday night game was really, really fun. Kelsey had 3 touchdowns again. He looked dominant. Tony is hurt. Rumors is Kadarius Toney's going to miss multiple weeks. Keenan Allen had to end up playing more because Mike Williams got hurt midway through the game. Or I don't even know. Was it even midway? I feel like it was early on maybe. Sometime in the first, second quarter, though, he re-hurt his ankle, and then he went out. So Keenan Allen had to play a little bit more. He had a pretty good game until that fumble late. Nick Bolton defensively for the Chiefs, he had a really good game. I think he had a fumble recovery, along with a forced fumble and a interception. I know the interception and fumble recovery for sure, but I can't remember if he forced the fumble or not. Josh Palmer had a really awesome day for the Chargers. And this was just, when the Chargers scored with I can't remember how much time was left, but I just remember the Chiefs' money line, I believe, was plus 172, and it just felt like with how much time they have left and the way that the Chargers season was going and the Chiefs season been going, it's you would feel pretty good about the Chiefs getting that. And the Chiefs end up going down the field, they win. It was just really awesome game by the Chiefs. They just continue. I think Pacheco also had 100 yards rushing for the first time since, I think, week 4 last year for them. And to go back to the Colts game real quick, Colts scored in their opening drive for the first time since Christmas last year. So we had 2 year-long streaks that just got broken today. That was very interesting. The Chiefs just... It's going to be interesting to see right now. I think it's basically the Chiefs, Bills, and Dolphins are the 3 big dogs of the AFC right now, and it's going to be a fun, exciting race to see between the 3 who's going to finish with the 1 seed. I'll brush over this game quickly. Bengals, Steelers, not much. I feel like not much happened here. The score feels a bit deceiving as well. It was one of those games where, Najee had a really good game. I think he had 2 touchdowns potentially. T. Higgins had... I can't remember. He had 21 fantasy points, so I know he went off. He had over 100 yards, I believe. I can't remember. I think it was 9 for maybe 111, something like that. But he had a really, really awesome game. And then, the big story, though, Joe Mixon hurt, out with a concussion, didn't do too much, but Samaje Perine had 3 tutties that game, and he looked really, really awesome for them. So, it was a really good win by the Bengals. They needed to win that game because they are the better team this year, and they need, to get the ball rolling with how good the Ravens are playing their division. They need to play a little bit better. And then also, I think Deshaun Watson for the Browns, to go back to that game, comes back in, I think, 2 weeks. I believe 2 weeks from now he comes back, and he'll be starting against the Texans. But, their season might be over now with the way their record is. We'll have to see. And then for these last 2 games, both blowouts, 49ers, Cardinals, the Cowboys, Vikings. Kirk Cousins was getting hit basically the second he was in his drop back. He would drop back in that pass, which was all over him. Cowboys played maybe one of the most complete games of football all year. Special teams was on point. Like, all round-wise, special teams was on point. Defense was on point. Offense was on point. I mean, they just played really, really well. And, I mean, there's just, they won 40-3. So there's not much to talk about. There's not much to talk about. They absolutely beat down the Vikings. And it was just a very impressive win by the Cowboys, who might be eye-opening. And that Cowboys game against the Giants next week, winner might get Odell. Those are the two teams Odell's rumored to go to. So, going to be interesting to see what happens between that matchup on Thanksgiving. And for the Monday night game, another blowout. 49ers absolutely beat the Cardinals. I mean, it was no contest, basically. Ayuk had 2 touchdowns. Kittle had 2 touchdowns. And it was just a really good day. I think it tied a career-high 4 touchdowns for Jimmy Garoppolo. And, I mean, very, very impressive win by him and that ball club. So going into next week, the Thursday night games, like I said, there's Patriots, Vikings, that's the nightcap. The early mornings, the Bills, Lions, and the middle days, the Giants, Cowboys. I mean, all those look to be like fun, interesting games. I mean, the spread for the Cowboys and Bills is pretty big. I hate to say it. I mean, out of all the games where if you think about it, there should be one upset. I don't think all 3 favorites are going to win, and I'm just trying to think, like, I want to say it might be the Giants against the Cowboys, but I have to play Cowboys because the Cowboys played so well last week that they might have a letdown, but I don't know. But, I mean, the Patriots have a pretty bad offense. I don't know if I could pick them to either, but these aren't too bad of Thursday night games, or Thursday Thanksgiving games. Should be pretty interesting, but due to that then, so there's no buys this week, so going into Sunday, Packers, Eagles will be the Sunday night game. That should be intriguing, I guess. I mean, that should be close just based on how the Eagles have played the last 2 games, but, I mean, the way the Packers are playing, you never know. Broncos, Panthers, whatever. That's a whatever game. Commanders, Falcons, that's going to be a sneaky good game based on how both teams have been playing. Like, that's probably going to be, I would not be surprised that ends up being the game of the week. That's a weirdly fun game, I would say. Like, that's going to be a game where, like, nobody expects it to be, like, potentially as good as it can be, but there's potential. I mean, that game could either be, like, 13-7 or it could end up being, like, 34-31. Like, it literally is on either two of the spectrum. Jets, Bears, I mean, meh. Bengals, Titans, that'll be a very good game between 2 decent teams. Texans, Dolphins, I mean, Dolphins should, I don't see how the Dolphins don't cover 13. I mean, it's the NFL, but the Texans are just putrid. Ravens, Jags, that line only being 4 feels interesting. That smells a little fishy. Bucks, Browns, interesting. That should be the last game before Deshaun Watson comes back. Chargers, Cardinals, could be interesting. Seahawks, Raiders, meh. 49ers, Saints, that's another one that could be interesting, probably not, maybe. And then Chiefs, Rams is, that's a big spread. And then Monday night we got the Colts, Steelers. That could be fun, could not be. We'll have to see. I mean, but yeah, these are what the games are going to be looking like next week. I mean, it shouldn't be too bad. I don't personally know I don't know what to expect from these games. Honestly, there's a lot of games where there's very interesting spreads and it seems kind of fishy. Like the Seahawks being only 4-point favorites over the Raiders, like, interesting. Yeah, it's just very interesting time in the NFL with some of the teams and the way they've been playing. So now we're back to our lovely playoff picture. So the way it looks, NFC wise, the Eagles still on top after their win. Vikings only took their second loss. They're still top the way they played. And for the Bucks, so they basically just stay the same. For the AFC, Chiefs, number 1 team now overall in the AFC. No change there. But now due to their win, they have a one-game window over the Dolphins. And then, Dolphins, Titans, Ravens, all 7-3. And, you even see the Bills down there, 7-3, and they're in 5th. This is going to be a tight race for the AFC. And then the NFC-wise, you see for 5th, the Cowboys are right there. They're 7-3. They're, 2 games out the division, and they could potentially steal it because they still have a game against the Eagles coming up. So looking at on the bubble teams and on the bubble teams in the last few. The Patriots move up 1 after their win over the Jets. The Jets end up dropping out, and then the Bengals rise up 2 after their win. And Seahawks fall all the way down to the 7th seed after the bye and just how the games went. The Giants fall down all the way to the 6th seed. For teams on the bubble, last week the NFC all looked close, and the AFC, I think the AFC looked close, and the NFC didn't. Now it's back the other way. Jets right outside winning. I mean, right outside the playoffs. So I mean, they have potential, but losing to the Patriots, that tiebreaker could come down in the road. Chargers 5-5. I mean, they're meh. I mean, they're probably, if they get to the playoffs, I mean, they're going to be squeaking in, and the same with the Colts. I mean, the Colts beat the Eagles. That changes their whole like idea when it comes to this, but now it's looking like a bit of a long shot. On the other side, Commanders have a real shot now, winning 5 of their last 6, so they've become a legit team. I can't believe how wrong I was about them, but I mean, that was with Carson Wentz coming in, so now that they're behind and keep back in, I mean. And then, yeah, Falcons, they are on the border, and then the Lions, I would say, with that bottom borderline team with 4 wins. But, I mean, that's what you're looking at for the playoffs. I mean, if I had to guess, though, I would say Chargers, Colts, probably not make. I mean, Chargers probably have the best chance to maybe make it, so I would say maybe one of those 2 teams take out, like, the Patriots or the Bengals, maybe. But even then, I doubt it. And then for the other side, I mean, Commanders might sneak into the 7th seed. But overall, I mean, looking at these teams, I would guess that these are probably going to end up being the playoff teams for the NFL. Now to go quickly through the top 25. Before I start out, Hendon Hooker, torn ACL for sure. Done for, I mean, that really sad for the kid because that just really sucks. Tennessee had a legit playoff hopes and bowl hopes. And, I mean, now it's both of those potential. I think they might still get a bowl, but, like, I mean, that's just a whole different vibe when you lose a star player like that. Navy upsets UCF. Really awesome win for them. Tulane absolutely blows out SMU on Thursday. I mean, that was like no contest, basically. Alabama, I mean, what do you expect from that game? FSU blows out Louisiana, as they should. I want to specifically talk about the TCU Baylor game in the moment, so I'm going to save that for the very, very end. Michigan escapes Illinois with the win. Illinois was up majority of the game, and they end up coming back, and then Michigan comes back to win. Kansas State beats West Virginia. Notre Dame blows out Boston College. Oregon State, after being down 7-0 at first, comes back and absolutely blows out Arizona State. Clemson blows out Miami, as they should. Penn State beat Rutgers, as they should. Georgia had a semi-close game against Kentucky, but that could just be like an overlooked game. I mean, Ohio State had a close game against Maryland. That was kind of a sweat for a bit. Louisville upsets NC State, and that was kind of surprising with Malik Cunningham, I'm pretty sure, being out. Cincinnati, good win for them. Georgia Tech upsets North Carolina. That was another shocker. I mean, unbelievable. Another shocker. South Carolina playing one of their best games of the year against Tennessee, beat them. Oklahoma upset Oklahoma State. Arkansas upset Ole Miss. I mean, that wasn't as surprising, but I mean, still to beat them by that bad. I mean, wow. USC survives UCLA. LSU beats down UAB. Washington absolutely slaughters Colorado. And then Oregon plays bad, Utah plays worse, and Oregon's able to escape with the win. So, yeah, I know I say it, I'll go to TCU in a second, but so here's what the top 25 for, next week are going to look like. So these are, some of the games to look forward to. So, there, as you can see, the rankings have not changed at all yet again, so I'm not going to really even, go over these games. I'll just give, a quick, scroll through while I'm going down and while I'm talking, just so you can get, an idea of some of the college games. But that TCU game, man, what a game. Back and forth game. I mean, everything you could ask for in a college game, and it comes down to a game-winning kick. And that's the main thing I want to talk about is about the TCU game. Is personally for me, I've bet on TCU now. I think every single game I basically either bet the money line at some point when they were down, or I've had them before the game, and they've covered for me week in and week out. And it's felt like an ATM. They're just such a good team. I mean, they've just and the best part, too, is they just find ways to win. I think it was the Kansas State game. It's either that, I think it was that game when they were down 20-something. They come back to win, and I'm like, there's no way they should have won. Ever since then, before that I watched 2 TCU games. And after that, I've watched basically every TCU game since. And I mean, it just, you can call it what it is, luck, escaping, whatever it is. I mean, they find ways to win the games, and all they do is win. And now they've escaped. I mean, Baylor, for the past 2 times that an undefeated Big 12 team has come through, Baylor's beat them. TCU beats them, escapes with 11-0. And I mean, it was just, if you watch, I would recommend, if anyone's a huge fan of college football, go back and just find what, even on Twitter, it's on YouTube, just go back and watch the very last play of that kick and just watch. I mean, it literally gives me chills. I've watched that video maybe 100 times. I mean, For me personally, one of the best things about sports, like that I love, is the atmosphere. I love the crowd. I love like the whole atmosphere around the game, like when the crowd's getting into it, especially for college, like the bands when they get into it. When the announcers, like I love like when announcers set the tone perfectly, and I can't think of who the I want to say his name's Jason. I can't. I'm not gonna even like try to guess their names because I don't want to get it wrong. But whoever announced the TCU game, I mean they did an awesome job for. I think it was on Fox. Whoever announced for them, they did an awesome job. They set the tone perfectly, and I mean, just watching TCU runs it 2 times on third down. There's like 18, 16 seconds left. They're sprinting the whole team off the field, running the field goal unit on, and usually that's when teams run into issues, especially in college where, oh, a guy's not on, a guy's not on, a guy's not set, a guy's moving while this is going, and I mean, TCU ran the fired. I think their coach calls it like bazooka something. It's like bazooka something. I can't remember what it is, but I think it's like bazooka kick or something like that. But basically, it's like the fire drill. I mean, I did like you would. I would assume like majority of college, especially like the good college team, majority of college teams run it. You know, there's like that time in practice where the coach puts the ball down. He's like, all right, like all the college coaches usually run the drill where they put the ball down, they do the quick kick, like they run the field goal team on with like 7-8 seconds left to practice it. I mean, TCU practices perfectly good. And TCU looks like they practice it perfect. 'Cause, I mean, you watch them run on. There's the time's running down. Nobody's panicking. Everyone's getting their position. They're getting set. Then with about 5 seconds left, it was like 5, 4, 3. Everyone's lined up. They snap the ball. He kicks it. Goes right down the middle. And the best part about it, this is a 40-yarder. So like this ain't no like chip shot. This is a 40-yard field goal to win the game. And the kicker kicks it straight down the middle, and TCU survives. And I'm just mean, that's going to be probably like one of the all-time like classic college moments. I mean, it was just awesome game, awesome call, and then I mean, yeah. So going into, I think this is the second last week to college. I believe the championship games are next week. I want to say maybe. I think they're the following week after this, but the big game for this Saturday, everyone's been hyping up Michigan and Ohio State. It's going to be interesting to see which Big Ten team comes out on top, and I mean, after another exciting week of football, I'm excited to see what this next week has in store for us. We're finally hitting that winter point where playoffs are happening, championships are about to be made, and this is about the best time when football. This is the best time for football, honestly. It's one of the best seasons